2019. Who here is a registered voter in the city of Chicago? 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, maybe. Who here cares about the direction our city is headed in? Everybody. Okay. Who can name the 14 candidates running for mayor? Who can name the 14?
Not 14. I was just reading something, but I can.
Okay, give us some.
Paul Vallis, Jerry McCarthy, Tony Predwinkle.
Anyone else?
David.
Haley?
Chico.
Chico, 5.
Impressive.
Lightfoot.
Anyone else? Lightfoot?
Susan Mendoza.
Doza, 7. You guys are pretty good.
Wow.
That's it. Preckwinkle, 8. I'm going to tell you all 14. Tony Preckwinkle, Susan M. Mendoza, Willie Wilson, Robert Fioretti, Bill Daly, Lori Lightfoot, Paul Vallis, John Kozler, Amara Enya, Jerry Joyce, Sean Ford, Gary Chico, Gary McCarthy, and Neil Sales Griffin. So the reason why I'm talking about the race is I've talked about other political races in the past. I've had an interest in politics, and I know some of you are so busy, you don't have the time to follow the race. The election, I think, is at the end of February. So like I said, there's 14 candidates, and a few interesting things to know about the race. Some of you probably know, it's just basic stuff. If no one gets 50% of the rate in the race, if none of the candidates get 50%, just like in their last race, we have a runoff with the top 2 candidates, and I think that's sometime in March. Now the thing about this race is because there's so many people running, I think in the latest poll, the top person is only getting 15%. So there's definitely going to be a runoff between the top 2 candidates. Right, Jim?
Yeah.
So right now, I'll just go over, some of these candidates are lesser known candidates. They don't have much of a chance. But I'm going to go over some of the top, right now the top candidates probably are Tony Preckwinkle, she's the Cook County, board of the Cook County, and Susana Mendoza, she's state comptroller, she's had a million different jobs in government, she's a Latina. Those are like the top 2 favorites, but there's other candidates that have a chance as well. Paul Vallis, does anyone know him? He was head of the school board a long time ago. He's very good with budgets. He's worked in a lot of different cities. A lot of my liberal friends think he's kind of conservative, but I'm actually leaning towards him because I think the biggest problem in this city is it's probably the most headed towards bankruptcy. Lawrence, you follow numbers. Out of any big city in the country, as far as our pensions are underfunded, they're raising taxes, property taxes every couple of years. Some people are leaving the city. So that's why I'm leaning towards him. A few of the other candidates to mention that are kind of interesting in this race, I've mentioned Preckwinkle, Mendoza, those are the top candidates, but there's some other candidates, like I said, you only need probably, you don't need to win the first round, you just have to get probably 15%, you can make the runoff. So there's actually half a dozen candidates that can possibly make the runoff. Now, another thing to know about the race, to kind of put a little shoehorn into the race, was that, does anyone know, this came out a few weeks ago, Alderman Ed Burke. He's under investigation by, I think, the FBI for accepting payoffs and bribes and this and that, and he's actually been tied to, he was trying to raise money for Tony Preckwinkle, which kind of puts a scar on her campaign, and she's also very close with Susana Mendoza, the top 2 candidates. They're kind of the machine candidates. Now, one other thing to know about the race, and another reason why I'm supporting Paul Vallis instead of Tony Preckwinkle, who I've seen as a speaker, and she's very good, I may have chosen her. But one of the big things to know about this race is more than half these candidates entered the mayor's race while Mayor Rahm was still running for re-election. A little more than half actually had the guts to challenge our mayor and say, I'm going to run against this guy, I don't like him, I don't like what he's doing for the city. But then, as I'm sure you know, a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, Rahm Emanuel said he's not going to run for re-election. It was a big shock. Everyone was like, wow, he's such a big shot, he's not going to run. And when that happened, some of these candidates like Tony Preckwinkle, Susana Mendoza, they decided to run for mayor because without Rahm Emanuel running, they figured, well, if he's not running, actually have a chance to win. And also, like I said, Preckwinkle, Mendoza, Daly, they're like insiders. they didn't want to challenge the system. And probably they were afraid of losing, going to go, the mayor. So one of the reasons, and some other people might vote for Lloyd Lightfoot or Paul Dallas, is they were one of the original candidates that decided to challenge the mayor before he decided not to run. So some people that really think the city wants to go in a new direction wants to vote for one of these candidates who decided to run while the mayor was still running. So a few other interesting things to know about the race is there's a candidate here, just picking one out of 14, Amara Enya. Has anyone ever heard of her? I've actually seen her speak. She's a young black woman in her 30s. She's a consultant. She's tall, very pretty, very charismatic, and she tried to run in the last election, but I didn't think she had enough money, so she didn't run. But in this race, I think she recently raised around $400,000 from a couple rap stars. So right now she's spending that money organizing among, she's like a very progressive candidate, so $400,000 is a lot of money for her. And like I said all along, it only takes 10 or 15% probably to get to the runoff. Once you're in the runoff, you're one-on-one with someone else. And like I also said, the top candidates, Crackwinkle and Mendoza, they've recently been tied to this Alderman Ed Burke, so some of the shine has come off their campaign, so really anything can happen. Another candidate, Robert Fioretti, he recently got a $500,000 donation from, I believe, Buddy Guy. Lloyd Lightfoot, she's a strong candidate. Gary Chico, there's another candidate here, Gary McCarthy. Does anyone remember him?
Awesome.
He was actually the police chief under Rahm Emanuel, and he was somewhat blamed or thrown under the bus for that shooting of a young black man that the cops had done. Gary McCarthy maintains that it was Rahm who covered everything up, and some people say that's why he's not running for re-election. So anyway, I see my time is up. I just wanted to go over all the candidates because I know you're all so busy. And just keep in mind that if you do decide to vote, there's a lot of issues the city has facing us, and we really do need the best candidate to bring us through the next 4 years. So hopefully you've enjoyed my speech tonight, and the main thing is go out and vote. Thank you.